you ever felt the silent fear that your own power can awaken in the people around you?
What if I told you there is a path to build a mind so strong, so relentless, that your mere presence will terrorize the world you know? It is not magic. It is not luck. It is a brutal transformation, a dive into the abyss that few have the courage to face. Today, you will discover Nietzsche's dark secret to forging this unshakable inner strength. Prepare yourself, because after this video, you will never think the same way again. If topics like psychology, philosophy, and the darkness of the human soul interest you, subscribe now to the channel. Have you noticed that true strength is not born from comfort or stability? Nietzsche warns us that it is precisely in the inner chaos, in pain, uncertainty, and despair, that the seed of the unshakable mind begins to germinate. This chaos is not an enemy to be avoided, but the primordial soil where the rarest of human forces is born. While most run away to escape discomfort, the individual who desires to become truly strong dives deep into this psychological abyss, facing their own inner storms without fleeing, without masking their pain with fleeting illusions. This idea may seem frightening because our modern culture sells a comfortable lie that we can build strength only with easy motivation, empty affirmations, and pleasant routines. Nietzsche dismantles this illusion with brutal honesty. He says you need to have chaos within yourself to give birth to a new star, a metaphor for the creation of inner strength that is the fruit of disorder, internal struggle, and suffering. There is no real evolution without destruction and reconstruction. There is no light without shadow. And that shadow you fear, that abyss you try to avoid, is exactly where your greatest potential lies. When you learn not to run away from pain, when you stop asking for life to be easier and start wishing to be stronger, you begin a profound transformation. Think of the moments when you grew the most. Were they the times when everything was calm, or those when you were lost, shattered, without ground? The answer is clear, because it is in rebuilding yourself and the ability to rise from your own ruins that true strength is forged. The mind that emerges from this process is neither fragile nor passive. It is active, resilient, and above all, free. Nietzsche saw suffering not as a mistake of existence, but as the engine that drives the human being to overcome. He did not romanticize pain nor glorify it, but recognized it as a fundamental tool, a sharpening stone for the soul. Changing your relationship with suffering, with failure, loneliness, and doubt is what allows you to shape an indomitable spirit. It is this acceptance of pain as an ally, not an enemy, that separates the weak from the strong, the transient from the eternal. It is precisely this inner transformation that causes discomfort to the world around you. While most flee from chaos, you will learn to walk in it, to dance with chaos, to use this turbulent energy to rise. While many beg for normality, you choose greatness, a path that demands rupture. It is not a path for the weak, because being strong does not mean smiling and hiding emotions. It means enduring the unbearable, passing through fire, and coming out the other side not only intact, but more dangerous, more powerful. But Nietzsche also knew that chaos without a center can be destructive. He warned of the need for an inner center, an anchor that keeps the mind steady even in the midst of the storm. Therefore, the next step after facing chaos is to build this solid foundation, this unshakable consciousness. This is what he symbolically called killing God, abandoning external illusions and beliefs to take full responsibility for one's own existence. Only then can the mind become truly free and strong. When God is dead, as Nietzsche declared, the existential void may seem terrifying, but it is also a unique opportunity, the radical freedom to create your own values, to be the absolute architect of your destiny. This freedom is the weight and the power you carry when building a mind that does not bend, that does not bow to external pressures. It is in this void, this abyss, that the true creator is born, one who does not need to hide nor seek approval, because their strength comes from within. Therefore, inner chaos is not the enemy to be defeated, but the cradle of true strength. It is the fire that burns old limitations, the soil where the seed of the indomitable spirit germinates. If you wish to build a mind so strong that it terrifies the world around you, start by facing this chaos, welcoming the pain, and learning to dance with internal disorder. Because it is only through this process that the unbreakable mind is born, the one that not only survives, but imposes its will and transforms everything it touches. What is the biggest mental challenge you faced in becoming stronger? Leave your answer here in the comments. When Nietzsche declared that God is dead, he was not merely making a philosophical provocation. He was revealing a brutal truth that many still resist facing. The death of God symbolizes the end of the illusion of an external authority, of a pre-established plan, of a meaning that comes from outside in. This death is the announcement that now there is no one left to dictate your rules, to guarantee your purpose, to justify your pain. You are alone before the void. And this solitude is not a punishment. It is the weight of radical freedom. It is frightening to realize that with the death of God, all excuses fall away. There is no longer a heaven to look to and wait for an answer. There is no longer a divine destiny to fulfill. There is no longer a supreme judge to appeal to. The responsibility to create meaning, value, and direction for your life falls entirely on your shoulders. And this is the point where most people collapse, because carrying the absolute weight of existence is a task for few. However, it is also the beginning of building the strongest mind one can imagine. This brutal freedom demands that you create your own values, not to fit in or please, but to become who you really are. You leave behind all inherited beliefs, conventions that were never questioned, dogmas that only serve to domesticate your spirit. The death of God is therefore a profound rupture with the comfort of ready-made truths, a rupture that can be lonely and painful, but necessary for the birth of the autonomous and unshakable being. By assuming this freedom, you feel the weight of the entire world on you, not a burden, but a challenge. It is the chance to forge an identity that does not rely on external approval, that does not fear others' judgment, that does not bow before conventions. It is the chance to become the creator of your own existence, the sculptor of your own destiny. This is the essence of true strength, a mind that does not bend because it knows its worth depends on no one but itself. But this freedom comes with a price, that of solitude. Because when you break with collective mediocrity, when you cease to be a follower to become a leader of yourself, you inevitably distance yourself from the crowd. Society fears and rejects the different, especially those who think for themselves. You will be misunderstood, accused of arrogance, called strange or insensitive. This rejection is proof that you are on the right path, that you are breaking molds and forging something new. The death of God is not the end of meaning. It is the beginning of a new kind of meaning, created by you, for you. This meaning is not given, it is conquered, minute by minute, choice by choice. It is a meaning that springs from the courage to face the void, from the willingness to dance with chaos, and from the will to create order from disorder. It is the meaning of the warrior who knows there is no savior, only himself. Thus, what Nietzsche proposes is not despair, but an internal revolution. A revolution where you cease to be a victim of circumstances, of others' beliefs, and of slave morality. You become the master of your destiny, a being who asks no permission to exist, who seeks no applause nor approval. This is the mind that terrifies, not by violence, but by its unshakable presence, by its radical autonomy, by its capacity to create a world where before there was only void. Therefore, the act of killing God within oneself is a rite of passage to true freedom and power. It is a leap into the unknown that few have the courage to make. But those who do, those who face this weight with firmness, will find not only strength, but the ability to transform everything around them. Because a mind that sustains itself alone, that creates itself, is a mind that no one can destroy. After facing the inner chaos and carrying the overwhelming weight of radical freedom, a new possibility is born. becoming the Übermensch, the Beyond Man, the being who transcends common human limitations and creates his own values. Nietzsche was not speaking of a superhero or a mythological being. He spoke of a profound transformation of the spirit, the courage to break free from everything that imprisons and create a new reality forged in total autonomy. This being is not subject to the rules of the crowd, does not seek approval, and does not fear isolation because his power comes from within. The Übermensch is the absolute creator of himself, an artist who shapes his existence as a singular masterpiece. He does not adapt to the world. He imposes his meaning upon it. He is not satisfied with ready-made truths or inherited moralities. He creates his own ethics, his own criteria of value, living according to his will to power. This will is not a desire to dominate others, but a vital impulse to continuously overcome himself, to go beyond his own limits, to transform suffering and chaos into creative strength. This transformation is a brutal rupture because it implies killing the old self, the one who lived dependent on external beliefs and others' approvals. The Übermensch rises from the ashes of the fragment itself, abandoning the slave morality that Nietzsche so fiercely criticized, the morality that protects the weak and punishes the strong, that exalts mediocrity and tries to domesticate the human spirit. To become this being, you will have to face the judgment of the world and, above all, the fear of the solitude that accompanies those who no longer accept being a member of the herd. But the solitude of the Übermensch is not a depressing void. It is a fertile field where the true self can flourish. The distance from the crowd, the detachment from false securities, is the price to pay for absolute freedom. In this solitude, he finds clarity, integrity, and unshakable strength to stand firm before the storms of existence. It is there, far from noise and easy approval, that the indomitable spirit consolidates, growing in power and wisdom. The world around senses this strength as a silent threat because the presence of the Übermensch exposes the fragility of collective mediocrity. His autonomy deconstructs the group's false certainties, causing those who cling to the safety of conformity to feel fear and anger. They will try to attack him with looks, words, irony, isolation. But this resistance is the fuel that keeps the mind strong and alert, a constant reminder that breaking with the ordinary is an act of courage, a daily war for one's own soul. Nietzsche shows us that being the Übermensch is not a destination, but a continuous process of self-transcendence. It is an incessant battle against internal conformity, against fear, against mental laziness. It is the conscious decision not to accept being defined by external circumstances, but to be the permanent creator of one's own destiny. This mind is a fortress that does not waver because its strength comes from radical freedom and the absolute responsibility of being who it is. Therefore, the emergence of the Übermensch is the culmination of the journey that began in the inner chaos and the death of old certainties. It is the moment when you cease to be a piece of the system to become the architect of your own existence. It is the mind that terrifies not by violence, but by its immense presence, by its ability to challenge the world and itself incessantly. This is the mind that no one can break because it depends on no one but itself. If you are willing to accept the challenge, to face the price of solitude, to carry the burden of freedom, and to fight for the construction of this mind, then you are already on the path to becoming something rare, something most only dream of, a being truly free, strong, and feared. The Übermensch is not a fantasy. It is a real possibility for those who have the courage to break their own limits and dance with the chaos of existence. Walking the path of the Übermensch. One of the hardest truths you will face is the deep solitude that accompanies true strength. It is not a solitude chosen on a whim, but an inevitable consequence of distancing yourself from the crowds and the comfortable beliefs they share. While many seek the security of others' opinions, easy approval, and conformity, the strong spirit learns to walk alone, embracing the silence that reveals its true essence. This solitude is not a meaningless void. It is a sacred space where the authentic self can emerge without masks. without disguises. It is in the absence of applause and external validation that you begin to hear the inner voice, the one that dictates your own values, desires, and limits. It is in this existential desert that the true construction of autonomy takes place, the autonomy that depends on no one but you. And the stronger you become, the clearer this separation gets. However, the price of this autonomy is high and painful. You will lose people, friendships, and opportunities that depend on submission and conformity. You will be seen as strange, arrogant, insensitive, labels created to domesticate what bothers the majority. Social rejection is the inevitable echo of those who refuse to fit in, but it is also a clear sign that you are moving away from the ordinary, that you are breaking the invisible chains that hold so many minds captive. The solitude of the strong is a battlefield where the most difficult war is fought, the struggle against the basic human desire for belonging. It is the challenge to stand firm when everything inside you begs to turn back, to seek the approval that once seemed so essential. But it is precisely in this internal conflict that the mind strengthens, for true strength is not the absence of fear, but the courage to face it and move forward. Nietzsche saw this solitude as a privilege, not a punishment, because it is there that the spirit can grow, free from the chains of collective opinion and the illusions of slave morality. It is in this space of isolation that you learn to fully own yourself, to be master of your thoughts, emotions, and actions. Self-possession is the rarest and most powerful achievement there is. It is the foundation of the unshakable mind. But this achievement does not come without pain. You will feel the weight of misunderstanding, the bitterness of losses, the coldness of judgment. You will often feel that you are alone in a world that does not understand your struggle. And perhaps you are, because the truly strong mind rarely finds company on the path, not because others are inferior, but because few have the courage to follow this solitary trail. Still, solitude is not an end, but a means. It is the fire that purifies, the desert where the seed of true strength can germinate. Those who learn to walk alone, who endure silence and rejection, become a beacon for those who still sleep. Their presence, silent and imposing, destabilizes the collective, challenges mediocrity, and opens space for the new. Therefore, if you feel the call to this solitude, know that it is not the price of being broken, but the sign that you are becoming unbreakable. Because the mind that does not bow before solitude, that does not seek refuge in the shadows of the group, is the mind that terrifies. The mind that does not bend before fear, criticism, or rejection is the mind that builds an invisible empire, an inner empire that no one will ever be able to overthrow. The inevitable confrontation when you build a strong, unshakable mind, you inevitably become a threat to the collective, to the mediocrity that sustains the world as we know it. This mediocrity is not just the absence of excellence, but an invisible system of control that keeps the masses conformist, obedient, and fearful. It manifests in the slave morality that Nietzsche denounced, a morality that punishes greatness and celebrates obedience, that masks cowardice as virtue and punishes authenticity as arrogance. The world does not pursue those who conform, who go with the flow and fit the mold. The true danger, the real terror for mediocrity, is the one who dares to break patterns, who thinks for themselves and challenges the dominant narrative. The powerful mind you are building not only unsettles, but destabilizes the system. It forces others to look within, to confront their own weaknesses and limitations. And this is something few can endure. This confrontation will not be open and clear. It will rarely come as a direct challenge. On the contrary, mediocrity attacks subtly, with suspicious glances, cutting silences, and veiled ironies. It uses the crushing weight of public opinion, social exclusion, shame, and emotional manipulation to try to bring you down. It is a silent war, fought in the shadows of daily interactions, where your growth is seen as a threat to the stability of the collective. Many succumb to this invisible pressure. They conform, return to the flock, stop thinking for themselves to avoid the discomfort of rejection and solitude. But you, who are willing to build a mind so strong it terrifies, must resist this corrosive force. You must learn to maintain your integrity, even when the whole world seems to conspire to erase you, to make you doubt yourself. Nietzsche warns us that this battle is the true tyranny, not the visible oppression of tyrants or authoritarian leaders, but the silent and effective domination of mediocre consensus, of the normal that represses greatness. This system does not seek to destroy you with brute force, but with numbers, with repetition of ready-made ideas, with the collective fear that paralyzes and lulls souls to sleep. That is why your greatest enemy is not outside, but within the very society you inhabit. But there is a force that overcomes this tyranny, unshakable consciousness. It is what allows you to remain firm, to keep building yourself despite difficulties. It is this force that transforms the daily confrontation into a training ground for the mind, where every attack is an opportunity to grow and strengthen your presence. The stronger you become, the more the collective feels unprepared to deal with someone like that. That is why the construction of the powerful mind is, in essence, a constant war against collective mediocrity, a war that demands mental preparation, invisible weapons, and iron discipline. It is a solitary struggle, but indispensable, because without it the human spirit is lost in superficiality and the false security of conformity. The mind that terrifies does not seek applause, but commands respect simply by existing with authenticity. This is the moment when you understand that your strength will be tested not only by external adversities, but by the world's reaction to your awakening. Mediocrity does not want you to shine. It does not want you to be free. It tries to imprison your mind with the invisible chains of fear and guilt. But if you resist, if you keep your mind firm, you will become an incandescent light that not only illuminates your path, but also challenges everyone around you to question their own prisons. To build a mind so strong it terrifies the world around you, you need to forge weapons that are not physical, but mental. These weapons are the invisible pillars that sustain your spirit in the storm of life. Resilience, self-discipline, clarity of purpose, and mastery over your own emotions. They are what create an impregnable fortress, capable of resisting the fiercest attacks of mediocrity and the collective. The first of these weapons is deep self-knowledge. Knowing yourself is not just an empty phrase, but a brutal process of facing your shadows, your fears, and your weaknesses without running away. It is looking inward with courage and taking responsibility for everything you are, not to punish yourself, but to transform. Only those who know their vulnerabilities can learn to master them, to use them as fuel for growth. Next comes self-discipline, the iron commitment to yourself, which makes you persist when motivation fails, when exhaustion tightens its grip, and when the whole world seems to conspire for you to give up. Discipline is not imprisonment, but freedom. Freedom from being a slave to impulses, harmful habits, and external pressure. It is the sharp sword that cuts the shackles of comfort and procrastination. Another powerful weapon is clarity of purpose, knowing why you are fighting, what your mission is, what inner flame you nurture, gives meaning even to the darkest moments. Clarity is the beacon that guides the mind in chaos, that keeps your strength directed towards a greater goal that surpasses fear and doubt. Without purpose, the mind disperses, weakens, and gets lost. Emotional mastery is perhaps the most complex of these weapons. It means not denying your emotions, but learning not to be dominated by them. It is the ability to observe your feelings with detachment, understand their roots, and consciously choose how to respond. A strong mind does not get dragged by anger, fear, or sadness. It uses them as valuable information to act wisely, not impulsively. Moreover, it is essential to develop radical adaptability. The world is in constant transformation, and those who insist on remaining rigid end up breaking. True mental strength resides in the flexibility to reinvent yourself, to absorb the new without losing your essence, to face the unknown with curiosity and courage. Adapting is not weakness. It is intelligence applied to survival and growth. Finally, the supreme weapon is the will to power. not in the sense of dominating others, but of mastering yourself and shaping your reality according to your own terms. It is the inner fire Nietzsche described, the vital impulse that transcends mere survival and seeks constant overcoming, the creation of new values, the construction of a life that is art and the ultimate expression of your being. Building these mental weapons is not a task for the weak or lazy. It is a continuous, painful, and lonely process that demands courage to face your own abysses, discipline to remain steadfast on the path, and a clear vision of who you want to be. But it is also the only path for your mind to become truly unbreakable, a force so intense that no one, absolutely no one, will ever be able to intimidate or break it. You have come this far, and that already puts you far ahead of most. Because building a mind so strong, it terrifies. The world is not for those who seek comfort or approval. It is for those willing to pay a high price. The loss of masks, the abandonment of illusions, the loneliness that comes with authenticity. You will lose superficial friendships, opportunities that demand submission, and the false sense of security that the collective offers. But what you gain in return is priceless. Absolute integrity, clarity of purpose, presence that transcends words. Your mind will become an incandescent beacon, a silent force that forces the world to acknowledge you, not for what you say, but for the simple fact that you are. This strength does not come from easy techniques or cliches. It is born from the internal war between who you were and who you chose to become. A war without end, because the truly strong never stop fighting. If something inside you has awakened with this video, if you feel ready for this deep transformation, subscribe to the channel now. Here you will find the fuel to stay firm, the tools to face chaos, and the community to walk, even if alone, towards your own greatness. And prepare yourself. The next video will dive even deeper into this journey, revealing the dark secret that all great leaders and thinkers carry. A secret that may be the final key to transform your mind into an unbreakable fortress. Do not miss it. You will have to take the risk to click. So what will you choose? See you in the dark. Until then.